So Katie, I wrote this in my notes so I wouldn't forget. I haven't told Katie yet what this says, but I had a dream about your boyfriend the other night.
Oh no.
He was sending me a bunch of Facebook messages, but I wasn't seeing them because I don't check Facebook. And then he sent a video of him in a helicopter with some kind of weapon. How random! And he was saying how anxious he was and why, but I wasn't seeing any of it until I was with you. So he was like saying in Facebook messages, like, I'm so anxious, like blah, 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 blah. And then it's like a video, he sent a video of him in a helicopter with like a weapon. And then I woke up.
I no longer feel comfortable hanging out with you in private situations.
Why? Is that a weird dream?
I think we need to look up the psychology behind that and get to the bottom of it. But I do get why you dream about them. And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to Is This Adulthood? You're listening here with Katie Jones.
And Ryan Durgy.
So, Ryan, this is a little bit different today.
Yeah, we actually have wine for once. I had a listener that I know come up to me and say, when are you guys going to get the wine? You guys keep talking about the wine.
Well,
so,
cheers to you or...
Cheers. That sounded like it was going to break.
It's probably because we've had a couple. So I'm asking Ryan, okay, so what kind of wine do you like? White. Okay, well, what kind? Oh, just white. Well, sweet or dry? We'll just go with dry. I don't know what that means. But we ended up with a pretty good Pinot Grigio.
Yeah, this is what I like.
Hashtag PG.
Uh-huh.
Pinot Grigio forever.
That's the only PG thing about you.
That's very true. Check mark on that. Okay, Ryan, what are we talking about today?
So today we're talking about when you should cut off a friendship, because so many people, as they get into their adulthood, they start to realize that so many of these people that have been around them for so long, maybe they don't fit with their values anymore. Maybe they don't fit with their lifestyle anymore. Maybe they just became not a great person, or maybe you're finally seeing that they're not a great person. Whatever the case may be, you may have to cut them off.
So we're talking about friendships ending and kind of common ways in which that may happen.
Exactly. Like, I mean, just like usual, I go on for an 8-page research paper.
I always have to reel you in. I've always done it, and I always will. We work well together that way.
Woo!
Okay, well, do you have any personal experiences about this?
Yeah, I definitely do. I was friends with a girl for 6 years, and we were best friends. Like, kind of the same way like you and I are. And, are you okay? All right.
Yeah, sorry, I just choked on your honesty.
Oh. And I had to cut her off because, you know, we were friends throughout high school, and it really fit. Like, we were just so close, and we were very similar. We would talk all the time, and even when we weren't with each other, we would call each other, right? And we had a lot of great memories together. And then I went off to university. And I grew up in university, and I matured in university, and she didn't go to university. She just continued working, and she was, which is fine, but she was still in the high school mindset. And so slowly I started to realize that our values didn't line up anymore. She was still in that high school mindset. She was still in the party mindset. She was still, you know, she wanted everything to be how they were, and I was progressing and growing and all of that, and maybe she was stuck, and who knows, maybe now she's matured, but it got to a point where I had to reevaluate our friendship. And it was tough because it's almost like a relationship, and you go through the kind of mourning period, and you may try to replace them with someone else, and you're like, it's not the same.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I had to cut her out because it's not, I mean, I'm simplifying it, right? There are just certain things about this person that I started to see, and things that maybe changed, and I just felt like we weren't a match anymore as friends, and it sucked. Okay,
so you were saying that you and your friend would call each other and hang out with each other, and were almost dependent on one another.
Yeah.
Do you think that that could be a common way in which friendships do end, because there's just such a level of dependency, and when that shifts for one person, the relationship is out of balance, and then how you kind of move forward and realign can be kind of a difficult situation to navigate.
That's such a good point, because that's kind of what happened a bit, is that I started pulling away a little bit. Like, I needed more space, and she still expected to be on a FaceTime every night, to talk for 3 hours on FaceTime every night about everything that happened. And, you know, I started meeting new friends, and I started hanging out with a different kind of group of people, and my values changed, and things like that. And she didn't change, but exactly, it became out of balance where she was putting more into the friendship and I was pulling back. And then there's kind of the butting of the heads where it's like, I need some space.
The level of expectancy has changed.
Yeah.
Now, my question to you is then, if one of your younger siblings came to you that was going through a similar situation, or just a younger peer, what would be your advice to handle that situation? Maybe something that you really liked with what you did, or maybe something you would have changed if you could go back.
I think my biggest piece of advice would be to make sure you're transparent with the person. There may be listeners out there that have a friendship that may seem on the downswing. Maybe your friend and you guys just don't line up. Maybe you guys got in a big fight. Maybe the friend isn't supportive of you. And I think that the biggest thing with that is that you got to be transparent with them. And I think at first I started pulling away and maybe wasn't completely transparent with their why. And eventually, though, I did. I opened up and just said that we just weren't really like clicking as friends anymore. She became dependent on kind of the party scene for a while, and maybe she's changed now. But I think that, me, I'm not super into that. But every time we would have to go out and party if we were hanging out. We used to hang out and not have to go out partying, and it was totally fine. So why did that change? That was just one of the things. But I think my biggest piece of advice would just be transparent with the person. Tell them why, because you don't want them always questioning why you're not friends anymore.
Absolutely. And I think as we get older, and I don't necessarily think that maybe our morals change. I think that for certain individuals, absolutely they can. Maybe there's been a certain experience that they've gone through or an eye-opening revelation. But for me personally, and a lot of my peers, I think that we've always had similar morals. They've just maybe strengthened as we got older.
Yeah.
Certain situations that we go through kind of remind us what our real morals are, and maybe embrace them and follow them more.
Yeah.
But I think a common thing that people go through with friendships that have gone on for a few years at least is that when things start to change, it's really hard to kind of figure out how to go forward. Because if you have a friendship that you've maybe only known for a few months or casually known for a few years, then you're used to that kind of we talk, we don't talk, we have a good time when we see each other dynamic. But if you have a friend that's been maybe your best friend or one of your very closest and deepest friends for a long time, when that starts to change, it becomes a very uncomfortable and sad situation to be a part of, because it's something that you knew so well and it changes or is changing in front of you. And I think a really hard thing to go through as well, and I've seen it and I know people have as well, is when both people actively aren't trying to change it. Mm-hmm. So it's quite clear what's going on and that things are changing, and both parties aren't stepping in and going, whoa, before this gets worse, let's put a pin in it and figure it out. So it's interesting when friendships that have longevity behind them start to shift, because it becomes uncomfortable for everyone, especially if it's 2 people or 3 people amongst a bigger group. Yeah. Because then you have to navigate, what does this mean for our group?
Yeah, for sure. Have you had experience where a friendship kind of fizzled as you got older? You used to be really close with someone and it faded? I
mean, I've had that throughout the years. Back in elementary school, I was very close with this one individual, and we went to high school, and we went to separate schools, so that naturally faded. Then one of my best friends that I went to elementary school with, we went to high school together, and almost immediately we weren't friends, which was a very weird transition. We went on the same school bus. We'd been close for years, and then we went to the same high school, and all of a sudden overnight. So that was kind of my first real eye-opener about like, hey, be prepared for your friendships to change. I'm a very outgoing person, and I consider myself someone that has a lot of friends. So I think I learned very quickly then that be prepared for this to kind of happen in your life if you're willing to put yourself out there in terms of having friends. And I would say I'm going through it right now.
Really?
Yeah, I have a very strong group of women, and we've been best friends for over a decade now. And I think a lot of the time in bigger groups, maybe certain people gravitate to certain people, but as a whole, we're very strong and united. And I think that's going on right now, or maybe it's just going on with me. I don't know, but I definitely feel isolated from two of the people in my...
You do feel isolated by them?
Yes.
So what caused that?
I don't know. Maybe if they ever give this a listen, they can let me know.
But so are you saying that it was just a random change where you just felt like they were drifting and it was the two of them together deciding to?
No, I don't know that. I'm definitely not saying that. That would be making too many assumptions. It's just a clear vibe. I mean, when you launch a podcast, you see who follows you. You see who, sends their love or their congratulations.
Who supports you, really.
Supports you. And again, sorry to our listeners, I don't mean to be specific podcast. It's about things in life. You get a great promotion, or you start that career, or you finally put a down payment on a house, and you see the people that come forward and go, congratulations. And you see the people that don't. And I understand... Sometimes it's hard to congratulate people if maybe you're not in the best place in your life. That's not specific to my situation. I'm saying sometimes it's hard to be the bigger person dependent on your situation. But at the end of the day, if you have a friendship, especially one that's over a decade, you'd think that when something exciting and positive happens in that person's life, no matter the issue, you would hopefully swallow a bit of your ego and at least say good job. And that's what hasn't happened in my situation.
Yeah.
So, with that I learn, and I can hash it out over some wine, over some Pinot Grigio, or I can realize what it is, call a spade, and focus my energy into other things and different people.
So have you accepted that you may no longer be as close as you once were, or may no longer be friends with this person? Because I can see it in your eyes. You're sad about this. Mm-hmm. You are. You're sad about potentially losing this friend.
Well, I sincerely hope that I don't lose these friends, because that would be a loss.
So what's stopping you from maybe reaching out and trying to at least one last time see with these two people if there's any way that you can establish why is there a distance here?
I think that if I had a little bit more courage, or a little less stubborn. I think I'm a little scared and a little stubborn, so it's making a concoction.
Yeah.
Then I would, but I'm also very hurt, and I think that hurt is a very powerful emotion. It's one thing to be angry or pissed off or any of those type of hatred emotions. Hatred's a passionate word, but anything that is quick to come and quick to go, I'm hurt. And since this has been going on for the last several weeks, that feeling has not gone away. If anything, it's amplified. Yeah. So I think that's the main thing that's stopping me. Because if I was just angry, I would have gotten over it. But I'm not. I'm really sad about it.
I can tell that you're sad. And I think when you and I first talked about this, there was a bit more maybe anger about it, just because you were disappointed that you had just launched a podcast and maybe some of your closest friends and allies hadn't supported it the way that other people have. And I think that that's understandable, right? I think a lot of people go through it. I think you're not the first friend that I've heard who has gone through that has had to cut off a friend because of maybe the way that they reacted to something, or maybe even like a little petty fight.
Absolutely. Well, my advice to everyone that's listening, and the advice I'm going to try to take for myself, obviously acceptance in all aspects of your life is such a wonderful thing to embrace, and it allows people to move on with their lives, lift extra weight that's maybe holding them down, maybe weight they don't even realize is there, and accepting what's going to come and what has already been done. And talk things through. So maybe I will take this very wise advice of yours.
All right, so now we're going to do another social media bump because we love those ones.
Yeah, we do.
I want to promote first that we have a Twitter. We only have like 4 followers right now because...
Don't expose our followers.
They can see it as public info because we haven't promoted the Twitter.
Oh.
We forgot about our Twitter.
Okay, well, just to shake things up, Is This Adulthood, but backwards. So adulthood is this.
That's not true. That's not what it is. It's actually at ITA Stop. We're going to explain it. It's at ITA_podcast. And Katie Jones probably knows how pissed off I am that we didn't get the right username. Because it's ITA, which are the initials for, Is This Adulthood? Oh, okay. Or that. So it's ITA_podcast. The thing is This Adulthood was taken by some mom that was posting about being a new mother 5 years ago. And
delete your account, Mom.
And
your kid's not even young anymore.
Oh, ouch. Okay, let's take that back. And then the other one, ITA podcast without an underscore, was taken. So, and then Is This Adulthood podcast was too long. So anyways.
I like ITA_podcast.
Do you? I feel like we're in middle school again with the underscores. Anyways, we have that. Also, we're probably not going to be publishing much on SoundCloud anymore because we find that most of our listeners are listening to it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify anyways. And plus...
And sending us love letters in the mail, throwing rocks at our window. It's a bit much.
Okay, that hasn't happened to me yet. But if anyone wants to throw a rock at my window or slide into my DMs, let me know.
Slide into his DMs and he'll give you his address so you can throw a rock at his window.
Oh, I'm not guaranteeing that. And also you can listen to us on this cool website /app called Podbean. Podbean. And our username on that, or our website URL is isthisadulthood.podbean.com.
Underscore.
No, there's no underscore. And you can listen to it just like you would on SoundCloud anyways. So, yeah, listen to us. Oh, and my personal Instagram, of course, is Ryan Durgy. RyanDurgy. And my Twitter is the same.
And my Instagram is KTEE, like t-shirt, Jones, I think. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And my Twitter is 01KatieJones. So follow me, tweet me, retweet me, and like everything that I do on there. Just to lighten the mood for a moment. If anyone has heard all the ruckus in the back, to one of you people that have a house full of animals or maybe little toddlers running around, we are recording at Ryan's beautiful family home here in Toronto, and he has two gorgeous golden retrievers. So they're just playing with some chew toys, if you're wondering.
Oh yeah, they're playing around and they love us and they're showing us the love, and we're playing around too with our wine. We're enjoying our white wine, aren't we? Cheers. Well, you know what, Katie, no matter what, you and I are still friends, and I just think that it's an interesting topic because I really feel as though as people get older, you know, things drift, and that's okay. But I think in your situation, it doesn't sound like things just drifted. It sounded like there's some bitterness from both sides, and maybe someone just has to be the bigger person. And you know what? If the other person doesn't respond well to that, then good riddance, you know? Like, then you can move on knowing that you tried. So I think that would be a good first step. I guess how we'll finish up this podcast is, when do you finally make the decision to end a friendship?
Well, I think there's obviously some big, clear ones.
Yeah.
Maybe your best friend sleeps with your boyfriend.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that would be a pretty deal breaker.
Yeah.
For me, though, again, we have to be objective here.
Really?
Maybe not for everyone.
No, that's true. Like, I feel like you and I don't think I could still be friends with that person.
No,
I'd be so upset.
I'm crazy and very highly emotional.
That makes one of us.
What if your friend made like a really bad rumor about you? You could have a friend that maybe backstabbed you and was lying behind your back about a certain thing. That's
true.
I mean, dependent on situations.
I think those are the big things. But I mean, I think that the thing that probably our listeners struggle with most is when things just slowly fade on their own. Maybe a big thing doesn't happen. But
that I think is the hardest one.
It probably is, and I think that you got to look at the situation in that kind of setting, and think about, do your values still line up? Is this someone that you see still being friends with 5 years from now? Is this someone that you see at your wedding and part of your bridal or groom's party or whatever? Or are they just an acquaintance that would be at the back with the band? You know, so it's
that's where you're gonna be.
So I think that, you'll know what's right. I just think the main thing is, I would say if it fades naturally, you can obviously let it fade as long as no one is upset about it. If you can tell that the other person still sees you in the same light and you don't see them in the same light, it's kind of like a breakup. And I just think that transparency is probably one of the best things you can do. And just say that, hey, listen, I don't really
like you anymore.
I just don't feel like we're as close anymore. And obviously we've had a lot of great memories together. But at the same time, it's just, I just feel like we're different people now.
Absolutely. But that also taps into a lot of things. Like there's certain friends that, if you don't talk every day or at least every other day or don't tag each other in a funny meme, then your friendship's changing.
Well, they know.
And then you have other friends that know we could go months without speaking or seeing each other because we live busy lives in different areas, or we just know our friendship's strong enough, and then you see that person however long after and you pick up right from where you left off because you understand and respect that that's how your relationship goes. And then it kind of sounds like with you and your old friend, you probably still liked her just as much in the beginning, but her wanting to talk to you all the time and that becoming an issue that you weren't, it started becoming, well, that's not what I want to do, and she couldn't respect that you were doing different things, and that's when it just starts to get too much. She became
jealous too of other friends.
Yeah, see. Okay, well, we're gonna, to anyone that thinks that this podcast episode was maybe a bit negative,
we're gonna lighten things up, don't worry.
But also, we're all trying to navigate adulthood right now all the time, and we're doing it together, and this Pinot Grigio is cold and these snacks are crispy, and the conversation is a little heavy today.
It is heavy. My stomach hurts. I think it's from the bagel bites that I made. I made these like ham and cheese bagel bites, but they're homemade ones, and like my stomach is like really hurting, and I think that I have to end this podcast soon and go to the washroom because...
No, you don't need to say that on the podcast.
I don't just say that on the podcast? No. Oh, okay. No.
So, with that said, thank you for listening. Tweet us. Let us know what you thought about this, if you're going through any similar situations, if you have any advice that you think could help us. And we hope that we can provide you with some insight and we can navigate these wonderful, confusing times together.
Bye.
We love you.